democratizing access to supercomputing through open hardware. And that's Andreas Olofsson.
This is a project we started last year, and it's been a very, very long year, but it's coming together now finally. And what we wanted to do was give people access to server level or supercomputer level performance at a low price and be open at the same time. So this is what we built. You know, it's a $99 computer. It's not a supercomputer, but at $99 and 5 watts, you can actually build a supercomputer with these things. It's a unique device, and it's got, you know, a parallel code processor. It's got FPGA logic at a pretty ridiculous price. And you know, we think some of you could possibly build some amazing applications with this. So, you know, why did we do this? One of the big reasons was parallel computing is the future. And it's extremely clear to us and to, I think, many researchers. And if you look at the history of computing, you know, von Neumann computing, which, you know, started it all, is going to be a blip in the history of computing if you really zoom out. You go out 50 years, 100 years, serial computing doesn't scale. You know, it was a very, very good solution at the time. It is a good solution, but it's just hitting a brick wall. And then you go, right, well, so parallel computing is the future. But, you know, what we found out in trying to sell a parallel processor is nobody knows how to program this thing. You know, if you go to Los Alamos Labs and the military, sure, a lot of people there might know it. They come from a supercomputing background, but 99% of programmers don't know how to do parallel programming yet. And so we were at this huge impasse where there is a better solution out there, but there are no users. And that was one of the reasons we launched this. You know, there's lots of good reasons for being open as a company, but I think for us, the best data point that we bring, we used to be a very paranoid semiconductor company, as most are. You know, NDAs on everything, no open data sheets, and you know, we didn't really realize that it was killing the company. And opening up, and you know, we're not an open hardware chip company, but we are an open platform company, open data sheets, open drivers. Doing that openness was the best thing we could have done. In fact, the company would have been dead today if we didn't do it. So I'll just go through some slides now and showing off what we did this year. That's me at the Open Hardware Summit last year. I was still smiling then. This was the evening that we launched the Kickstarter project. We did pretty well the first day, but not well enough. And so, you know, the reason I show up the prototype after we launched the project, it was we had a prototype, but a prototype is a very vague word. And, you know, like some other speakers said, really, you should never do a Kickstarter project unless you have a product that's ready for production. You should be ready to push the button and produce 10,000 units. That's a prototype ready for pre-orders or Kickstarter. Don't launch a prototype that still has work to do. This was our prototype. Cost $2,500 and burned 15 watts and was this big. All we had to do was push this down to $99 and 5 watts, right? No problem. I'm an optimist, an eternal optimist, and I believe we could do it. I had the simulations and everything else that showed that we should be able to do it. But, you know, a lot of things are not under your control, and that's when you run into trouble. For example, for us, the suppliers, convincing them that they should give us volume pricing on every one of our parts, and we're only going to build 5,000, that turned out to be incredibly difficult. When you have to ship 6,000 of these things at $99, well, what if you start off with a bill of material that's $200? Now you're taking a $100 loss on every board. That's a lot of money at 5 or 10,000 units. So that was a huge scare. The campaign for us was brutal. You know, I'm really jealous of the Kickstarter campaigns that make all their money in the first day. We sweated the whole time through 30 days, and then the last day, our backers came together. We kept working the whole time, never gave up, and we made our funding goal, you know, of $750,000, and we got to celebrate for one night, and then next morning it was, oh shit, back to work. And then we went quiet for a while because we really had to make this a production-level platform that people could use. We shipped out the early prototypes to backers in January that people could start developing software on. So we were kind of on schedule. The board layout itself turned out to be way more complex than I anticipated. It's a 12-layer board with just a bunch of stuff on it, and it was was a scary moment until we actually could fit all the components on the card, because we didn't want to increase the size of the board. We wanted to be credit card sized. But at this point, we kind of knew that, you know what, we're going to make it. It's going to be okay. Of course, we hadn't gotten the boards back yet. So in April, we got them back. This was good. It powered up fairly quickly. A few bugs that we fixed with wires. We ran Linux within, I think, 2 weeks, and things looked good. And then problems. 2 months of everything going wrong, from issues with our manufacturer to our bugs that we couldn't just quite get a handle on in cleaning up the platform. There were power issues, so we had to put a fan on the board, which was obviously unacceptable. And this was just heads down working on it. And when you have 5,000 backers that really want you to succeed but still are waiting for you to deliver, that's very, very painful. But in July, things really started to get cleaned up, and they came together. We had really a scalable solution that was very robust, that we could put together clusters like this. So we started preparing for shipment. We shipped out the early boards, Gen 0, and people are using them today. I think the verdict is pretty good. They're usable, right? They're not good enough to ship to 10,000, but they're pretty good. And this is kind of where we are right now. That's not me. I look usually worse than that. But it's been a really, really tough year. We're almost there. We're out with at the MIT table showing off our Gen 0 boards, the Gen 1 boards that came back today that I powered this morning. No smoke. Things are good. A couple of firmware fixes, but I should have an update on Monday where we stand. But that's supposed to be a fanless board that is just right. We got 8,000 Epiphany chips back this week, almost perfect yield, and so we're good. We're good to go there. And right now we're looking at starting shipment in September, finishing about 10,000 shipments at the end of October, and it's a race, but we're going to make it. So thank you.